okay? And as I'm doing this, the next thing I got to start thinking about is my phrasing. And this is something you got to be really careful with, is when you're playing, don't try and make everything that you do exactly the same length and exactly the same dynamic. And what's the other word I'm looking for? The length of the note, the dynamic of the note. And starting on the same note all the time, or the same beat all the time. Let me show you what I mean. So let me start this again. So here we go. Here's my little intro thing. So here we go. I'm going to start on the same note, do this, or the same rhythm, everything. Here we go. 3, 4. Here we go. So as I'm doing that, it becomes very predictable very fast, okay? So that I don't want. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna start thinking, well, what if I use these 3 things? Number 1, I'm gonna try and use different dynamics. Number 2, I'm gonna start on different beats. And I'm not really sitting there thinking, well, I'm gonna start on and of 3 or something like that. I'm just trying to change this up. Just like when you speak to people, if you're, a public speaker at all or have to do things like that, you learn how to talk to people so they don't get bored because you're talking the same way. Every sentence is exactly the same thing. It's very important to change that up, okay? And for me, it's the length of the phrases that I'm going to start changing as well. So now let's start it again, only this time, I'll just start from here. There's a million things I could do to make this a little more interesting by changing up the phrasing, changing up the dynamics, things like that. Now for me, you can tell that I want to start moving, okay? It's just the nature of the beast for me. I want to start moving around and finding some things. And I don't want it to be predictable. I don't want the next note to always be predictable. I don't want that. Okay, and we're going to be talking about that on Monday. We're actually going to be talking, let's see, Monday I think is developing arpeggios within our melodic system, and then maybe it's Wednesday where we start talking about non-chord tones and how we can use those to create tension and deception, which is really important in our playing. Because watch this, if I'm playing this song here, let me go back just a little bit, and I'm playing it, watch what happens to the ear if I give you a note that's not as predictable. Watch. We gotta figure out where we are here. Sure. See how that note? Do it again here. Okay? So what happens there, and again, this is a conversation we're gonna have next week, but I go to notes that are not part of that chord, not part of that triad, and it creates this tension. And it sounds beautiful, especially if it resolves back at some point. Doesn't always have to, but it just sounds really, really, really nice. So today's conversation is not about that. Today's conversation is about trying to do the predictable, land on the right notes at the right time, start plotting them out, because what it's going to show you is how well do you know the fretboard in whatever capacity you're trying to do this, okay? Maybe it's one position on the guitar or 2 different positions or something like that. And of course, this is in the key of A. The key of A might not be your thing. You might normally play in the key of G or something like that. But just keep that in mind as you're practicing this. And remember, in the guitar course, what I do is I've written I don't even know, 3 songs, I think. And I show different approaches to trying to figure out how you could solo over through those 3 songs with different, whether you're thinking pentatonic or arpeggios or diatonic or something like that. So just something to think about a little bit, and you can always check it out. There's a link over in the chat that you can look at.